How about you yell that a little louder? I don't believe they heard you in Trottingham. I burst into medical, following Aura. Wind Thrasher was getting off the table. Dr. Gauze had just finished getting the blood samples he needed. Wingnut was still sitting on the floor, looking sleepy. We all came in, and all three overlooked at us. Wind Thrasher asked, "What's wrong, Shadow?" "It's time to leave," I said, moving over to Wingnut, who was still looking half asleep. "Rise and shine, kid." He rubbed his eyes and looked at me. "Why do we have to leave so soon? I thought we were going to be meeting the rest of the leaders here." "Yeah, Shadow, what's going on?" "She finished decrypting the file from her stable. Looks like her friends are in trouble," Aura said, going over to the other side of the room to grab her saddlebags. Wingnut jumped to his hooves. "You mean we get to go see where you came from, Shadow?" "Yeah, but I highly doubt it'll be a fun trip." The transmission from Auntie sounded urgent, and she said something about a different talent company invading. "This'll be a fight, and not an easy one," I said, taking my saddlebags from Aura and slinging Stardust's rifle over my back. "Is there a plan?" Wind Thrasher asked. "Right now, we're heading to Cartwheel to meet up with the Red Talons. Gigi offered to help. I think we might get some help from Box Tape, too, but I'm not sure what he can do," I replied. Dr. Gauze looked over at us. "Real quick, before you all head off, is there any way that I can be of assistance?" "It'd be a big help if you had some kind of medical supplies we could use. We're out of healing potions," I said. "I have plenty of medical supplies that I could sell you before you head out," he said, getting excited. "I'll take care of getting what we need, Shadow. Why don't you see if you can get a hold of the Steel Rangers? Let them know what's going on in your old stable," Aura said. "Good idea. I might be able to get some help from Sapphire or one of the others. They may be able to tell me more about Vervain," I said, tossing a couple bags of caps, then going to my pip-buck. As I went through the menus to bring up the broadcaster, Wind Thrasher came over to me. "Are you sure it's a good idea to be rushing into this?" "What do you mean?" "What if it's another trap?" she asked. "Wind Thrasher, who would set a trap like that?" Wingnut asked, giving the Bat Pony an odd look. "She has the Sins after her. It's just like them to set this up as a way to try and trap her," Wind Thrasher said. I sighed. "You've got a point. But with Stardust running the Sins now, I don't think that they need to set up traps like this. This was more the old Pride's thing. Stardust is a straightforward pony. If he wanted to come after me, he wouldn't have me travel halfway across the region." "He would. If he thought it would work. I wouldn't put it past him." "That's possible, but I can't worry about him right now. My friends are in danger, and I'm not going to hide or run away from that. I owe Auntie this much after what she's done for me over the years. We're going to Cartwheel and Stable 28. That's final," I said, putting my hoof down. She shrugged. "Fine, but if something happens with the Sins, don't blame me." I smiled. "I won't. Don't worry about it." Aura came back over, stuffing the last of what she'd gotten from the doctor into her saddlebags. "We're all set. Let's get going. Shadow, did you try and get a hold of the Rangers yet?" "I was just about to. Don't rush me," I replied. "Well, you'll have to do it while we move," she said, heading towards the door. I looked back at Dr. Gauze. "Thanks for the help, Doc. Can you tell Javelin we had to run? I'll make sure to get the letters delivered for her." He chuckled. "No problem, Shadow. I'll also be able to see what I can do about Wind Thrasher's blood. Next time you stop by, be sure to pay me a visit." I nodded, then followed the others outside. As we approached, my friends, Wingnuts was saying, "How do you plan on getting us to Cartwheel fast enough to help?" Aura snickered. "Easy, kid. You have 2 flyers on your side. Shadow can ride on my back, and Wind Thrasher can carry you. That is, if Batty can handle it." "I can handle carrying a colt, Aura," Wind Thrasher said with a scowl. "Sounds like a good plan to me. We can get there a lot faster that way," I said. "Ah, why do I have to be carried by Wind Thrasher?" Wingnut whined. "Because you're lighter than Shadow. Aura said simply. I looked over at Aura, my muzzle hanging open, as I said, "Did you just call me fat?" She rolled her eyes. "No, I said you're heavier than the colt. If I wanted to call you fat, I would have said something like, Wind Thrasher can't handle carrying such an enormous fat ass." I couldn't help but lightly laugh, but also feel offended. "Fine, whatever. Let's just get going. I don't want to wait any longer than we have to." "Yeah, that's a good idea." She knelt down so I could climb onto her back. Wind Thrasher moved over and picked up Wingnut, who was still pouting. While we were both settling in, Aura continued, "All right, let's blow this popsicle stand." Both Aura and Wind Thrasher blasted into the air. We darted over the fence of Spitfire's Flight Academy and headed towards New Pegasus, the city just visible in the distance. As we flew, I went back to my pip buck and started searching for the Steel Ranger's signal. As I did, I asked, "You know what the channel the Steel Rangers use?" "It should be one of the military channels. There's only two that have a wide range. One is the one I use to contact Gigi. The other should be the Rangers." I looked through the broadcast channels, and as Aura said, there were only two showing up. One I knew was the same one she used to contact Gigi, so I clicked on the other. When I was finished, I spoke to my pip buck. "This is Courier Mayor Shadowstar with an urgent message for Elder Appleslice or Star Paladin Sapphire Shores." A moment later, I heard the voice of Scribe Hazel coming through my pip buck. "Shadowstar, is that really you?" "It is. Hazel, can you get me in contact with the Elder?" "Not right now. She's out at the moment. But I think Sapphire might be around somewhere. Can it wait a moment?" she replied. "Yeah, just let her know it's urgent." "No problem. I'll be right back. Just hang tight," she said. As we waited, Aura said, "You sure Sapphire's a good pony to talk to there? I think the Elder would be better." She would, but I put a lot of trust into Sapphire. She's helped me a lot in the past, and she's a Star Paladin. She's like second in command at the bunker, or so I was told. "It's true that a Star Paladin is just under the rank of an Elder, but Sapphire isn't the only one in the bunker." "She isn't?" I asked. "No. Even with a Star Paladin, there are ranks. It's all about seniority when it comes to a Star Paladin. For example, there are 3 of them right now in the New Pegasus branch of the Steel Rangers. You have Star Paladin Sandstorm, then Star Paladin Noodle Cup, and then Star Paladin Sapphire Stone. The longer you've been a Star Paladin, the more honored you are in the Rangers," Aura said. "So Sapphire doesn't have as much pull as the other two?" "No. From what I learned from her while you were still resting up, she's only been a Star Paladin for a year or so. Noodle Cup's been one for close to 10 years, and Sandstorm's been one for around 15 years. He would have been the next one to take over as leader when the last one died, but somehow Elder Slice got the job," Aura replied. Before I could say more, Hazel's voice came out of my pit buck again. "You still there, Shadow?" "Yeah. Did you find Sapphire?" "She did. And me too," a deeper voice said. "Who's this?" Sapphire's voice came on next. "This is Star Paladin Sandstorm, Shadow. He's the head pony of our branch in the Steel Rangers while the Elder's out. It's okay, you can trust him. He's friends with Box Tape." A hearty laugh came out of my pit buck as Sandstorm said, "That I am. I've known the old buck for too many years. So, Courier, what's this urgent message you have for our Elder?" I knew I couldn't waste time, so I said, "I received a transmission from the pony who raised me in my stable. Something happened there, and the ponies who live there are in trouble. Auntie said there's a different talent company who are working with my overmare, and she's using them to kill ponies." The other end was silent for a moment, then Star Paladin Sandstorm said, "And what do you want the Steel Rangers to do about it?" That took me by surprise. "What do you mean? I need as much help as I can to save my home." "Courier, the Steel Rangers have no reason to enter Stable 28. There isn't anything there that interests us, and we wouldn't gain anything by going there. The last team we sent there failed to find anything in Stable 28, and we would consider it a misuse of technology. In fact, we lost a good paladin there, and since you have the Mark II, we don't need to go back. I'm sorry, but we can't help you with this." "Are you talking about Vervain?" "Yes. She was killed in action helping her mother escape the stable 8 years ago. After that stable was locked down, and we wrote it off," he replied. I started to laugh. "My mother lied to you about that. From what I know, Vervain is still in the stable. I'm not sure who she is, but she's still there." Sapphire's voice came in next. "If Paladin Vervain was still alive, Shadow, she would have checked in with us a long time ago. Unless my mother did something to make her forget who she was. She has the ability to do that." Sandstorm answered next. "Courier, how would you know that kind of information?" "Because I have her pip-buck tag. My mom left it in the file in the Mark II. When I checked it, it still showed up in the stable," I replied a bit condescendingly. It is possible that another pony is using her old pip-buck, but I couldn't be sure. Are you sure that's her, Courier?" Sandstorm asked. "I am. If another pony had her pip-buck, it would have been reset for a new user, and it would generate a new tag. I don't know why she's still in the stable, but I plan on finding out and getting her out of there too. She used to know me before I went into Stable 28. She could be the only pony who can answer my questions. My question is, to you, are you going to let a fellow Steel Ranger die because you don't want to get off your lazy asses to go help?" "She does make a good point, Sandstorm," Sapphire said. "That she does. And the Sentinel would be overjoyed to know his daughter is still alive. Courier, I can't send out a lot of help right now. We've been having problems with a group of fiends out here. But I'll send Star Paladin Sapphire Stone to aid you with a paladin and a knight. They might not make it in time, but this is the most I can do right now." "Anything helps. Have them go to Cartwheel and see Box Tape. If we aren't there anymore, he'll be able to tell you where to go," I said. Sapphire's voice echoed out. "Sir, I should bring a scribe with me too." "That's a good idea," I said, knowing how much help one of the scribes could be. "I agree. Bring Hazel with you. She hasn't left the bunker in a while. It'd be good for her. Courier, is there anything else before I let you go?" One thing did come to mind. Was Hazel able to fix the Mr. Handy I brought in while I was there last? I heard Hazel's voice in the distance. "You mean Watts? Yeah, he's up and running again. Just finished his repairs last week." "Good, because I'd like him back. Bring him when you come to Cartwheel." "That shouldn't be a problem. The team will head out in an hour or so to meet you in Cartwheel. Safe journey, Shadowstar," Sandstorm said. Sapphire spoke next. "I'll see you soon, kid. Don't get yourself killed, okay?" "Can do." Both Star Paladins said through my pip-buck, "Ad Victoriam." Then the transmission cut out. "Damn, you sure got that old buck to change his mind quickly," Aura said when the transmission ended. I grinned. Wasn't too hard to do. One thing I learned from the Steel Rangers is that they don't leave a comrade behind. "True, but how'd you know that pip-buck changes the tag when they're reset? I didn't even know that," Aura asked. "It's general knowledge," Windthresher said, flying closer to us. "Every pony in a stable knows that a tag is unique to the pony who uses it." I giggled a little. Honestly, I didn't know that. I was just winging it. Aura looked skeptical. "I don't know, Shadow. How you described it didn't sound like it came from just any pony. It sounded like it came from a pony who knows this is kind of thing." I thought about it for a moment. You know, it could have been possible that I remembered something from my classes in the stable. Plus, my mother did work in the research and development section of our stable. It's also possible I remembered it from her. I just went with my gut. Either way, it worked. But I don't get why they can get to Cartwheel in time to help, Aura said. "Maybe, but if this takes a while to get settled, then I'd like to know that they're on their way. The most important thing right now is unlocking the stable and getting as many ponies out of there as we can. When that's done, we can worry about killing the Overmare and stopping the group of griffins," I said, looking down at the ground, speeding past under us. We flew in silence for a while, when Wingnut asked, "Can we listen to something on the radio while we fly? It's getting really boring." So I brought up my pip-buck and turned to DJ Pony. "Hello, children of the wasteland. This is the one and the only DJ Pony. And you know what time it is? Yes, it's time for the news. First, we have reports far from security in the hoof. There was a battle in the town of Flank, where a metal monster of a pony led a group into the town, where they mostly destroyed the place. But our heroine was able to make it out mostly in one piece, killing some of the top 10 Reapers in the process. Let that be a lesson to any pony who still wants to try and cash in on security's bounty. Now, moving closer to home in Manhattan, we've been seeing more activity from the Enclave. I've been getting reports about our winged neighbors popping up more and more often over the past few days. Remember, children, you don't want to cross an Enclave soldier if you can help it. If you see a Pegasus in black power armor, it'd be best to give them a wide berth. I was about to switch channels when he said, "Now I know that the ponies who live out in west near New Pegasus have been wondering what's been going on just outside the city. I reported last week that some kind of superweapon was used to destroy Appleton in a flash of deadly light. At the time, no pony knew who caused it, or why they would want to take the town out. Now, children, there's going to be a lot going on that day, and it was hard for this old buck to sift through all the reports that came in. But I finally have an update on what happened that fateful night." Oh, fuck. Don't tell me he's going to tell every pony what I did. The DJ paused, then continued in a sad-sounding voice. "I've talked to my counterpart, Mr. New Pegasus, and he agrees with me on what happened. From what we learned, and as some of you ponies know, the Enclave from Stardust had taken over much of the town. They were starting to leave on the day Appleton was destroyed. I'm not sure why, but while they were evacuating there was an attack on the town by the zebra group known as the Roman. They were stopped by one of the 7 sins of equity, their leader, known as Pride, in fact. Let me tell you, faithful listeners, be happy that you weren't there to see this fight. It didn't last long, but after Pride used his strange shadow magic to attack the Romans, nothing but bloody gore and 2 zebras were left in the end. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. DJ Pony, did this pony Pride destroy the town? Well, no, he did not. But it wasn't for the lack of trying. You see, reports say that the courier mare herself used the distraction of the fight to sneak into town where she fought off the monster Pride. He hurt her so badly that one of her friends along with her. It looked like she was going to die. But the courier's luck wasn't out just yet. Somehow she was able to target Pride with some kind of weapon. She trapped Pride inside a barrier, and then the blast that killed Appleton took down the monster as well. Children, I don't know what to say about this new information. From what I've heard, reports say that she did try to run back into the town and stop the attack, but it was unsuccessful. I'm not sure if she knew what this weapon did or if she ever used it again. But, for now, until more information can be found, I'm suggesting that the ponies out west stay clear of the courier. I still believe she's trying to do good, but until we know if this weapon is no longer a threat, you should be careful of letting her into your town. This is DJ Pony bringing you the truth, no matter how hard it hurts. Oh, and courier, if you're out there and you're hearing this, I hope what happened in Appleton was a mistake." The transmission cut out and I moaned, "Fuck you, DJ. Why can't you just keep your muzzle shut? Every pony in the wasteland's going to hate me." Windthrasher looked over at me with Wingnut. Both had a sad look to them. A Colt sighed. "Don't worry too much about it, Shadow. You'll show them that you didn't mean to hurt any pony." "You also knew that sooner or later ponies would figure out it was you," Laura added. "I know, but still, I didn't need to hear that right now." "Well, it's late. Maybe too many ponies didn't hear the report," Windthrasher said, trying to cheer me up. "Yeah, but the word will get out no matter what." I flipped to Mr. New Pegasus to see if he was reporting the same thing. DJ Pony wasn't as popular out here as he was. If he was reporting the same thing, then I was screwed. A minute went by, as an old song finished up, playing on the New Pegasus broadcast. Then the old pony's voice echoed out of the pit buck. "Good evening, every pony. This is Mr. New Pegasus, with tonight's news broadcast. There's been reports of a few bands of fiends roaming around Coven, not too far from Hidden Sands. From the looks of it, the Steel Rangers have started a small fight in the group, and the fighting is starting to make its way towards a small town. I'll be sure to keep you all updated on what's going on as the story unfolds. But for now, any travelers headed out that way should stay clear of the town until the fighting is ended." So far, so good, I said as the stallion went on. The Romans have pulled back from the front lines against the NLR and stopped fighting for now. They haven't withdrawn, but for the time being, it looks like both sides are taking a breather from their ongoing war. There's been reports of the Seven Sins of Equinity getting into a fight with our one and only courier mare while she was traveling from Trotzdon to Spitfire's Flight Academy. I wasn't able to find out everything that happened, but I do know that they pulled out and ran, leaving the courier alive and well, to make her way to meet with those odd ponies living up at the old base. And now, last but not least, there's been strange sightings of some kind of airship flying below the clouds out west. At first, we thought it was more ponies from Stardust, but the emblem of the Steel Rangers was what was seen on the side of the ship. Right now, it's headed towards New Pegasus, but for what reason, we can't be sure. The New Pegasus Steel Rangers branch couldn't be reached for comment on these strange sightings, but mayors and genticles, if you see a large flying airship that doesn't look like it's Enclave, stay away from it for now. This has been Mr. New Pegasus. Have a pleasant evening. The music came back on, and I turned off the radio and asked Aura, "Have you ever heard of the Steel Rangers having an airship?" She shook her head. "No, and even if I had, there's no way they could fly something like that without the Enclave doing something about it. They wouldn't be happy to know that ponies that aren't them would have a way to get into the clouds." "Yeah, I wonder if it's even true. All he said was just a report," Wingnut said. "I wouldn't know. But when we get to Cartwheel, we'll check with one of the Red Talons and see if they know anything about it. Something that big would have been noticed by them," Aura said. "I just wonder why these Steel Rangers from out west will be coming to New Pegasus. Maybe this has something to do with Elder Appleslice," I said. "It's possible. I know that Elder Appleslice works with the Steel Rangers from Los Alicorn," Aura said. Wingnut spoke up. "What about this box tape fella Star Paladin Sandstorm talked about? He seems to know the Steel Rangers. Do you think he'd know something about the airship they have?" "I don't know, Wingnut. Wouldn't be bad to ask him, though. That's if I remember to," I replied. Windthresher sighed. "Right now, it doesn't help us. We just need to start thinking about a plan to get into Stable 28, and what could be happening." "I've been thinking on that," Aura said, scratching her head. "I'm not sure what talent company would be big enough around here to be able to hold a stable. Unless the Overmare has all of her security team helping them." Security normally does whatever the Overmare says, but they're also tasked with keeping the stable safe, even from the Overmare herself. If she let Griffins into the stable, like Auntie said, and they're killing ponies, they wouldn't let that stand. Silver Badge is our head of security, and he's not a fan of the Overmare. He wouldn't take orders like that," I said, hanging on to Aura as she turned sharply to stay out of New Pegasus' airspace. "Then I'm not sure how she's keeping order in her stable with such a small talent company," Aura said. "How do you know it's a small company?" Wingnut asked. "The other talent companies around here would never get that large because of the Red Talons. There are 3 of them right now that work in this area, but they've all gotten permission from Gigi to do so. All 3 talent companies don't have more than 10 or so Griffins in them. I know that a few months back I heard a rumor about a bigger talent company building itself out west, but I never had any proof. If Shadow's Overmare was using Griffins to control the ponies in her stable, she'd need at least 50 or so. Either she's using a shit ton of freelancers, which there aren't that many, or she's using a talent company that the Red Talons don't know about," Aura explained. "If it's a talent company you don't know about, then I'm guessing you won't know how we can take them out, right?" I asked. "That's about it. Not all talent companies are like the Red Talons. They live by the contract and all, but they don't have the same ideals as them. It's possible that you can buy them off, and that would be that. This talent group could be as strict to holding the contract as the Red Talons are. The problem is, if they have that many Griffins I think that they need to hold the stable, the 3 wings Gigi is sending won't be enough." "I'm also not so easy for Griffins to kill other Griffins," Windthresher said. Aura laughed. "It's no different than a pony killing to us. Sure, we don't like doing it, but a job's a job." Windthresher looked sad. "I don't like how you can think like that, Aura. They're still your kin." "They're also enemies. If they stand in our way, then they'll just die like any other. I don't like it, but that's the way of the world, Aura said, turning again. I looked down as they talked. I saw we were flying over Appleton. This was the first time I had seen the town since I killed Pride. From the air, I could see how much damage solar flare had done to the town. The town square where Pride was not just a crater. The buildings that surrounded it were gone too, nothing but black soot in a large ring. The damage outside the ring was less than it was where the blast hit, but still the damage was great. Anything that was close to the barrier was smashed or destroyed. Not as badly as the town square. Buildings collapsed into themselves, streets were cracked, and anything flammable burned away at the heat of the spell produced when it blew outward. It seemed like the only thing that survived was the town wall. It was still standing, almost serving as a kind of headstone that surrounded the dead town, a reminder of what had been there. It's not easy to see the destruction after the fact, is it, Shadow? Aura said as she flew by Appleton. I nodded. Didn't realize it was that bad. You should have seen it right after it happened, she said quietly. Wingnut looked at Aura. Aura, don't. Just don't. She knows what she did was wrong. You don't need to keep reminding her. She gave him a look. Sorry, boss, but I wasn't trying to make her feel bad. She just deserves to know what happened. I looked down at Wingnut, who was still hanging on to Windthrasher. She's right. I needed to see that. Seeing what the weapon can do is scary. Now I know that I can't use it again. Windthrasher shuddered. Yeah. We also can't let it fall in any other pony's hooves. I'm hoping that I'll be able to find a way to either destroy it, or at least make it so no pony can fire it again, I said. Why can't you just destroy the rangefinder itself? Aura asked. If she did, it's possible that other pony could just make their own, Windthrasher said. We all looked at her, and Aura asked, how would they do that? Well, something that runs on its own specific frequency. The rangefinder that Shadow has is always connected to it. That way, it's always ready to send a signal from Halo 1, which sends the signal up to the satellite. If the rangefinder was destroyed, that frequency would be freed up for another pony with enough knowledge to make another one, and we'd be in the same boat, she said, making it sound simple. Once again, I'm gonna just take your word on it, Windthrasher, I said. She reads too much, Aura said with a chuckle. And there's no such thing as reading too much, Aura, Windthrasher said. She sounded annoyed. There is when you start acting like you know everything, Aura retorted. The next thing I knew, Aura and Windthrasher were having a small argument about things I didn't understand or care about. So I just rested my head on Aura's neck and watched the landscape fly by underneath us. Wingnut joined on the conversation too. At first, trying to get both of them to stop fighting. Then giving his own opinion on whatever they were talking about. A good amount of time passed when I found myself lost in thought about everything that's been happening over the past few weeks. Stardust being lost and found again, only to have his memories fucked with by the Enclave. And that took up a good amount of my thought. If it wasn't a spell from my mom, then whatever Stable 97 was doing to their ponies, looked like that'd be the place I'd have to go to figure out how to fix him. I wasn't going to give up on him or Mom either. I just hoped that I could figure all this out before it was too late. It seemed like the key to helping Stardust was Wingnut. For some reason, he brought out the better side of him. As long as it stayed that way, I could use that to our advantage. Mom was a different story altogether. Somehow in the past, either she took away her own memories, or some pony else did. I'd have to find a way to help her get those memories back. If I couldn't, then she had to be put down. It was for her own good, as well as the rest of the wasteland. On top of all that, now I had to help the stable I wanted more than anything to stay far away from. Even if everything worked out and we saved Stable 28, things wouldn't change for the ponies there. What would they do? Go back to trading with the wasteland or keep hiding away until the stable eventually died? Either from inbreeding or something else. Either way, I had to get Balefire and Milkshake and Auntie to try and leave for good. They deserved a better life than being stuck in that rust bucket. As I thought of what I could do to help my home, I noticed the rocky cliffs in the distance that marked the location of Cartwheel. The way we came in was similar to the way I first entered the town. I had no idea how close to Cartwheel was to the town near New Pegasus. There were two roads that led to the small town from this one. One road led from Cartwheel towards Appleton. The road forked closer to Cartwheel, and another path led down the way I came, heading south to where my stable was. I hadn't noticed the fork in the road before because it was too close to where the raider camp had been. The raider camp was another surprise I got when we moved closer to the cliffs. Most of what Crackerjack made was mostly gone now. One of the towers was still standing, but from the looks of it, the shacks and cages along with a pitiful wall were now gone. The ponies at Cartwheel must have taken it all down during the weeks I was gone. They probably had a lot of fun destroying it too. The road into town looked a lot safer now, and even now I could see caravans coming through the pathway between two of the cliffs, heading towards New Pegasus. I smiled at the sight. It was nice to see something good come out of something that I did. Looks like we're almost there, Aura said. Finally. You know how uncomfortable it is to hang from your forelegs like this? Wingnut protested. I laughed. Yeah, I do, kiddo. Trust me. Aura and Windthrasher flew us over the cliffs, then dived for the town. Majority had ponies standing in a small circle watching us. When we landed, I was greeted with cheers. I was taken aback as I slid off Aura and looked at the ponies who were stomping their hooves as if I was a hero coming back from a great battle. From out of the crowd, Box Tape came up and chuckled a little at the look on my face. Shadow, you look like you kissed the wrong end of a rattlesnake. Hi, Box Tape? Why are they all cheering? I asked. His smile got bigger as he said, They're all happy to see the courier mare herself come home at long last. You're a hero to 'em, Shadow. What do you mean? I didn't do anything. Don't tell me you already forgot about taking down the raider camp. Because of you, Cartwheel's thriving like it hasn't in years. He said, still laughing, when his eyes fell on Aura. Well, look what the cat's dragged in. Aura Blood Talon. It's good to see you still doing well. How's my old friend Apollo doing? Good, since the last time I saw him. How are you holding up? Aura replied. I looked at the two of them, my jaw dropping. Does everyone know you, Box Tape? I'm an old fox, Shadow, and I run one of the only courier services in New Pegasus. I'd say just about every pony who matters in these parts knows who I am, or at least knows me personally. He gestured towards Aura. I've known Aura since she was no bigger than my hoof. I looked at her. Why didn't you ever tell me you knew Box Tape? She shrugged. You never asked. You know what they say, don't ask, don't tell. I wanted to say something snarky, but then I realized she was right. Damn it. So I just ignored her and asked Box Tape, Have you seen any griffins from the Red Talons by chance? No, I haven't. Why? What's going on, Shadow? He asked. And who are your other friends? Oh, this is Windthrasher and Wingnut, I said, pointing to each in turn. I asked about the Talons because Gigi is sending 3 wings of griffins here. I was supposed to meet with them. His happy, carefree expression was replaced with a more serious one, something I hadn't seen on his face before. If Gigi's sending 3 wings here, something bad's going down. What's going on, Shadow? I got a transmission from Aura, or Auntie. My stable's been in trouble. She told me to get help and come here first and find you. She said you'd know what to do, and to tell you that it's a code PP287? He took a step back at that. He looked scared for some reason. You didn't say PP287. I did. What does it mean? He took a moment to respond. Back when Stable 28 used to trade with the ponies here in Cartwheel, Auntie was one of the ponies who used to come to the town. She told me once that if any pony ever came to me and told me that code, it meant that the stable was on the verge of destruction. It means if something isn't done soon, Auntie's going to destroy the stable itself. Shadow, when did you get this transmission from Auntie? A few hours ago. That's when I decoded it. That took a couple of days to get to, though. And Aura said the transmission was received a day or two before that. What do you mean exactly she's going to destroy the stable? He ignored my outburst and looked at Aura. When exactly was the transmission picked up? 4 days ago is when the Red Talons first picked it up. Shit. That means we've only got a day, or maybe less. Can we just go back to you saying Auntie would destroy Stable 28? Why would she do that? That's her home. My home. She cares about every pony living there. I blurted out. It's a last resort, in case the stable was invaded and they couldn't get the ponies out safely. Your stable's got a lot of secrets, Shadow, and Auntie would do anything to keep them out of any pony's hooves, he replied. Wingnut looked scared. She'd kill all those ponies just to keep others from getting something out of their stable? He nodded. That's what she told me, at least. What I don't understand is why a stable pony would tell you something like that, Windthresher said. He smiled a little. Auntie trusted me with a lot of things. Back in the day, she was worried that the Overmare was going to do something like this, and she wanted to make sure she had a backup plan. We need to get to the stable and stop this before it goes too far. At the very least, I have to try and get as many ponies out of there as I can, I said. Then we should head out right away, Aura said. I thought we needed to wait for the talents to get here, Wingnut said. Aura smiled and pointed up at the sky. Looking up, I saw 9 griffins flying down towards us. No need, they're here already. Then her face fell as they got closer. Are you kidding me, Mom? Fucking hell. Not her! Following her gaze, I saw that she was talking about. Leading the griffins down to where we all were standing was Fletch, her 2 minions standing close behind. When they all landed, she looked at Aura like she was scum. Fuck. So you're still following the courier around, I see. Before Aura could respond to her sister, Wingnut jumped between the two. Don't start anything, Aura. We have more important things to deal with than the bullshit between you two. Aura made a nasty face towards Fletch, then looked away. Whatever you say, boss. Fletch, I wasn't expecting you to show up, I said, trying to be as civil with her as I could. She huffed, then reached into a messenger bag she had slung over her, pulled out a scroll. Mom said we had to make this official. She's doing this for no caps and putting her own reputation on the line for you. This is a contract that covers all the griffins here for the duration of the fight in Stable 28. Once we're finished, the contract is too. I took it and asked, so you're all working for me then? That's what Mom said. You should read through the contract and let me know if you agree, she said. I opened the scroll and read through it. It was close to what Aura's was like, with a few more stipulations like each griffin wouldn't kill a stable pony that wasn't trying to attack us first, and they wouldn't help me take over the stable unless it was to save it. I rolled it back up and slipped into my bag. Looks fine to me. Good. Since you already know my wing of griffins, that being Groger, Pluck, and myself, I'm the lead griffin on the mission. You'll tell me what needs to be done, and I'll make sure the other griffins do what's needed. I'm not a bodyguard, I'm a soldier, here to protect the name and the territory of the Red Talent Company, Fletch said. I was actually surprised she wasn't being as bitchy and uptight like she was last time we met. Aura huffed. Always getting a hard on for doing whatever Mommy tells you to. Fuck you, Aura, Fletch said, pulling out her spear. You better keep that beak of yours shut before I make you. Well, never mind, there it is. The Empress of all bitches has returned. I sighed. Fletch, put that away. We don't have time for this. Until this is over, I don't want you or Aura to fight. My stable's in trouble, and I can't be worrying about you two. To my amazement, she put her spear away. I can do that. I suggest that Aura's contractor makes her do the same. Wingnut looked at Aura, who rolled her eyes. Yeah, I know, boss. I'll be good. For now, anyway. Box Tape looked at all the griffins, then laughed a little. Well, now that we've all settled that, we should try to figure out a plan of some sort. Fletch looks toward Box Tape. Hey, Box Tape, I didn't even notice you there. And what's this about a plan? Aren't we just gonna storm in there and take out the griffins who are holding the stable? Fletch, you should know by now that you can't just charge into a situation like that. You need to know who your enemy is first, and their numbers. Find out if they got any hostages, or if you can even get into the stable. If you do this wrong, you could end up in a very bad situation, he said to the angry-looking griffin. It can't be that bad. There isn't any Griffin Talent Company out here that's big enough or strong enough to take us on, Groger said. Aura smiled a little. Groger, we don't know what company they're using or how strong they are. I agree with you that it shouldn't be a problem, but we don't know that for sure. Fletch was tapping the side of her beak, deep in thought. Then she said, As much as I hate to agree with my little sister, she's right. Then she looked down to me. I'll fly out with my wings to scout out the area. I'll leave Eris with you for your protection. All I need you to do is tell me where to go, and I'll meet you there. I nodded. Good idea. All you have to do is head into Green Mist Valley. On the far side of it, there's a cave entrance that's blocked by an old wooden door. That's the entrance to Stable 28. Fletch thought for a moment, then said, Green Mist Valley, huh? Now I understand why no one knows where the stable is. No one ever goes near that place. Too much radiation. Your wings go scout it out and make sure the entrance is secure. We'll meet you there, I replied. She cracked a smile. I didn't even know she could smile. Will do. Don't take too long. Nobody likes a slacker. When she was gone, I walked over to Box Tape. Box Tape, I need to talk to you before we head out. He gave me a smile. You got more important things to do right now. When you get back to town, we can sit down and talk. But it's about Silver. Shadow, go help your stable and make sure your friends are all right. I already told ya. We'll talk later. Wind Thrasher put a hoof on my shoulder. Come on, Shadow. Now's not the time. I knew she was right. You're right. Let's go help my stable. Y'all come back now, yeah, and stay safe, Box Tape said. I looked back at the old buck. Something sad looking on his face. It only lasted a moment, but he smiled, doing his best to hide whatever emotion he was feeling at the moment. You okay, Shadow? Wingnut asked as we headed out the gate to the back of the cliffs. I'm not sure. I just have this weird feeling that I'm not going to see Box Tape again. He gave me a puzzled look. Why's that? I don't know. It's just something deep down. I have a feeling that I can't seem to shake off. You're just thinking too much about it. You've lost 2 friends that you were close to recently, and found out your mother was Cloak, the big bad mastermind behind the sins. Somewhere inside you, it's possible you think you're going to lose all the ponies you're close to. You're probably right. I guess my time out here is beginning to make me superstitious. As we kept on, I noticed the leader of the last wings of Griffins was staring at Aura. She looked a little older than Aura. I liked how her bright blue feathers mixed in with her shining white fur. She also had striking orange eyes, and they were locked on Aura. But not like the other Talons looked at her. I moved closer to her and asked, Why are you staring at Aura so much? She blushed and looked down at me. Her voice was soft and a little cute. Oh, no reason. I just haven't seen her in a long time is all. It's good to see she's doing well. Your name is Eris, right? She smiled. Yes. Captain Eris Greenhaven. Did you know Aura before she was banished or something? You could say that. Her sister, Viveranda, was my best friend for a long time. I used to hang out with Aura and Fletch a lot when V was off training. I'm a couple years younger than V, so I got used to stuck with the younger Griffins a lot when the older ones were off training. My eyes went wide. Wait a second. Are you the friend of Aura's sister that Gigi caught Aura with? I didn't mean to make it so loud. I really didn't, but I did because sometimes I make stupid mistakes that make things weird and awkward. The 2 male Griffins who were with Eris both started to laugh, and Aura looked back at me with murder in her eyes. Eris herself looked like she wanted to disappear. Honestly, the expression she had at the moment was quite comical. Aura turned back towards me and poked me in the nose with one talon. How about you make that a little louder? I don't believe they heard you back in Trottenham. I smiled wide. What's the big deal, Aura? Thought you didn't care who knew you slept with your sister's friend. She rolled her eyes. I didn't when I was a kid. But you don't need to go around saying things like that. I was just a kid. And Eris was young too. I don't know, Aura. It wasn't really that bad. If you weren't Gigi's daughter, no one would have cared. Eris said, seeming to come out of her embarrassment. And it was fun. Aura started to blush too, and she rounded on Eris. Don't encourage her, she's ruthless. Eris smiled wider, then walked past Aura, letting her long tail slide slowly under Aura's beak. Ah, little Aura, still shy about her sexuality. Here I thought she wasn't scared of anything. A shiver ran over Aura. I hate both of you. I started to laugh too. Come on, let's keep going. We have a long way to go before we reach Green Mist Valley. Then my eyes fell on Wingnut, who was looking at both the griffins, his eyes wide. You okay, kiddo? He ignored me and said to Eris, Can I get the details? I face-hoofed. You know what? I didn't start this. You two can deal with him and his perversions. I walked past the colt, joining Windthrasher, who was blushing as well and doing her best to look like she hadn't been listening in on the conversation. He's a curious little colt, isn't he? Eris said, smiling down at him. To which I replied, Nope, he's a pervert. She paused for a moment. Oh, I see. Ignoring the two griffins and the colt, I returned to Windthrasher. Maybe I'll have to fly to the stable now that I think about it. Why's that, Shadow? Because when I traveled here, it took me a couple days to make the trip by hoof. We don't have that kind of time. Aura pulled away from her argument with Eris and Wingnut. Yeah, but when you left your stable, you didn't know anything about the wasteland. It took you a while because you moved slowly, hid from enemies, and had no idea where you were going. Think about it. Now you know what you're doing, how to avoid and take down enemies. Plus, you won't be dawdling. True. But even Auntie said it would take a while when I left the stable. Shadow, Green Mist Valley isn't far from here. Yeah, with the terrain and monsters out here, it can take an hour or two on hoof, but it shouldn't take days. Aura said, walking away from the others to come join me next to Windthrasher. Still, I'd like to save as much time as possible. Maybe we should have followed Fletch and the others. Aura laughed. Maybe, but they did need to scout out the area and make sure everything's safe for you to make your way to the stable. I'm sure they're there by now, so if you want to fly to Green Mist Valley, we can. Yeah, let's do that. But don't land inside the mist itself. Eris smiled down at me. We all know how dangerous the mist is. Don't worry. As long as there's an area close to the door that leads to the tunnel, we should be fine. I had to think back on that moment. It'd been a while since I'd left. I remembered seeing the green mist when I first left the door. The door itself was set at a higher up location, and none of it came up to it. The area where the door is set up higher from the mist can reach. We should be able to land there safely. Aura grinned. Then let's get this show on the road. Hopefully we'll run into the other two wings when we get close. What if they ran into trouble? Wingnut asked. I smiled. Then we'll have a fight on our hooves. Then let's head out. Aura said, looking back over at Eris. Is your wing ready? Ready for anything. Isn't that right, boys? Eris said, looking back at the two male griffins. They both said in unison, Ready and willing, Captain. I hopped onto Aura's back. Wingnut did the same with Eris, as I said, Okay, let's go home. The flight to Green Mist Valley was quick. Aura had been right. As I watched the road under us zoom by, I realized how slow I was moving when I left my home. I almost felt stupid. But then I remembered what Aura mentioned. The fact that I was new to the wasteland back then. I didn't know what I was doing or where I really had to go. I had no idea what dangers might be out there yet or what to expect. That made me scared and paranoid. As we flew, I saw the mostly crumbled bridge that I first took a rest under, the place I'd killed my first pony. From this height, I couldn't see if the bodies were still down there or not, and I was okay with that. They were only raiders, but I don't feel like remembering how scared I felt when they attacked me, or when I killed them. I wasn't too far past that when we flew over the eerie green mist that slowly rolled over the large field. I didn't realize when I walked through here how easily I could have gotten lost. If Auntie hadn't told me which way to walk when I left, I could have easily died from overexposure to radiation. The griffins and Windthrasher turned to head towards a small set of hills that bumped up against the field once we were right over the center of Green Mist Valley. When they did, I could see what looked like ponies slowly walking through the mist itself. What are those? I asked. Ghouls. Green Mist Valley's full of them. A lot of ponies have gotten lost in there and either died from exposure or became ghouls. Honestly, I'm surprised you didn't get lost when you went through it, Aura replied. I had the pip buck. Its navigation helped me keep going the right way, and Auntie told me the direction to travel. I am still surprised you didn't run into one of those ghouls, one of the male griffins said as he flew a little higher. I'm just lucky, I guess, I said as we got closer to the hills. I pulled up my pip buck's map and checked where the marker to Stable 28 was. When I found it, I continued. Move a little further to north. You should see the door. They all turned to where I was pointing. Aura, and she said, I hope we don't have to fight any griffins while we're around this. One bad hit to the ground and we'd be overrun by those irradiated fucks. Eris pointed a talon ahead where I could see 6 griffins circling around where the entrance to the tunnel should be. Doesn't look like it. There's Fletch and her griffins now. They saw us coming and Fletch swooped over to meet us. You all got here quick enough? It was odd how professional she became when she was working for someone versus hunting me down. Did you run into any problems? She looked at me. Ran into 2 griffins as soon as we got near the door down there. Fought them off easily enough. 2 griffins on 6, they don't stand a chance. Did they have any kind of mark showing which talent company they worked for? Eris asked. That's the thing. They did, but not one we've seen before. I think they're part of a new talent company, or at least one we've not heard of yet. Fletch replied. Let's take a look before we head in, I said. All the griffins nodded and dove for the ground. We landed next to the old door where the 2 dead griffins were laying. One was missing its head. The other had multiple bullet wounds in her torso. On their forelegs, they had brands, much like what the red talons wore, only they were black with red and blue markings. They looked like 3 claw marks tearing through a broken chain. Or moved over to one of the bodies and pulled the brand off to look more closely at it. Yeah, I've never seen this before, and I've been all over most of the wasteland. This must be a new group. Groger looked closer at the dead female griffin. That looks like Valerie. She left us over a year ago or so. Wasn't she the one who took a contract to go into an active stable last year? Eris asked. Yeah, I remember when that happened. Didn't she get kicked out with 10 other griffins or so, who also went in to take that stable? Aura asked. Fletch replied quickly. Yeah, and I think this other guy was one of those griffins too. Looks like they put together their own talent company. This shouldn't be too bad then. 10 griffins, well, 8 now I guess, shouldn't be a problem for us, Flex said. I looked past the dead griffins towards the still open door that led to the tunnels. Just down the dark hole was the door to my old home and my old life. Now I was threatened by griffins and my fucked up overmare. But I don't get as why. What was the point of hiring griffins to come into a stable and take over? She already ran everything in Stable 28. She was the pony that ruled over everyone there. Why would she go this far unless... I took a step back. This is a trap. Aura gave me a quizzical look. What do you mean this is a trap? Think about it, Aura. Why would the Overmare need to bring in griffins to take over the stable? She was already in charge of everything that happened there. Her word is law. There's only 2 reasons she would need to do something this extreme. Either she lost control of the ponies in the stable, and she needed the griffins' help to help her, or she wanted me to find out about this so I would come home and help Auntie, I explained. She has a point. In any stable, the Overmares rule over any pony no matter what. And she gets what she wants. Some Overmares let that go to their head. Others try not to abuse their power. If she lost control of the ponies, she would need help to get her power back. That's what security's for. This is going almost too far for any Overmare. I think Shadow's right. It has to be a trap, Windthrasher said. If it is, then she'll be expecting you to show up any time now. What do you want to do then? Fletch asked me. Before I could answer, a shot rang out from above us, and one of the griffins that was with us, with Eris, fell as a bullet passed through his skull. The Talons reacted instantly. Most took to the air. Eris and Nora pushed Wingnut and Windthrasher and myself into the tunnel as Fletch tried to shout orders. When I looked up, I saw at least 20 griffins flying above us. One I knew right away. She was holding a sniper rifle and aiming down at Fletch, a grin on her beak. Fletch, I didn't expect to be the griffin my dear sister would send out here. Gina said maliciously as she looked down her scope. And is that my dear Aura hiding in the tunnel there too? Fletch, I could almost see, went from her normal irritated look to intense fury. Oh, Aunt Gina, long time no see. I've been waiting years to gut you like a fish for the shit you pulled. Aura looked at her older sister. Don't do it, Fletch. She's stronger than you, and she has a whole lot of backup. I could see that it took every ounce of Fletch's willpower not to jump into the air and attack her disgraced aunt. She looked back at Aura and asked, What do you plan on us to do then? We have to get word to Mom. Then we need to fall back right now. You do that then. I'll keep her talking, Fletch said, looking back at Gina, who was still smiling down at us, all ignoring the other griffins who were staying in place, waiting for Fletch to give the word to attack. So, Aunt Gina, you went and started your own talent company, huh? Gina laughed. Not really, Fletch. I'm just another griffin doing what she's told. I joined up after the courier here killed my last employer. We're the Unchained Talons. A lot of us are former members of the Red Talons. All of us are highly trained, and none of us are bound by the idiotic rules of our former talent companies. Aura looked over towards me as the others whispered to me. Get Gina on the emergency broadcast channel and tell her what's going on. There's something else going on here. I have a feeling there's more to this than your stable. I agree, I said, then looked back at Windthrasher and Wingnut. Move further back into the tunnel and wait for me. Windthrasher nodded. We'll do just that. But are you going to be okay, Shadow? I'll be fine. Don't worry. Now go. When they left, I lifted my pit buck and opened the broadcaster, and found me the channel that Aura used to contact Gigi and said into it, Gigi Blood Talon? This is Shadowstar, do you read me? A moment passed as Gigi responded, I'm here, Shadow. What's going on? We need reinforcements next to Green Mist Valley. There's a new Talon group here and more griffins than we thought there'd be. I think a fight is about to break out. They seem to be working with your sister. What? You mean to tell me that Gina's there? Yes, with at least 20 other griffins. She says most of them are the griffins from the Red Talons who were banished like her. They call themselves the Unchained Talons. Fuck. If Gina's there, then something bigger's going on. You need to tell Fletch and the others to not engage with Gina. They can't take her on, no matter how much stronger Fletch thinks she is. Tell them to fall back and try to lead them away from the stable. I'll lead my own team to meet them. Have her turn on her distress beacon so I can find her. What about the rest of us? I asked. Have Eris and Aura go with you into your stable. They should be good enough to help fend off whatever's going on in there. I'll try getting a team to you as soon as possible. But we have to take out Gina first. If she's leading these griffins, she has to be stopped at all costs, Gigi said. Aura moved closer to me. Mom, Aunt Gina is saying she doesn't lead them. Gina also likes to throw off the enemy. Don't believe it for even a second, Aura. You all have your orders. I'll be there shortly. I understand, Gigi. I'll make sure to leave the stable unlocked so your team can get in to help if needed. That'll work. Gigi out, she said, and the transmission was cut off. I looked back to Fletch, who was yelling up at Gina. You can't expect me to turn over my contractor just because you told me to, Gina. Fletch, I'm sure you'd love to bicker about this, but I'm short on time. My own contractor wants that mare dead. My team and I are going to make sure she gets what she wants. Trust me, you don't want to fight me. Fletch, did you catch what Gigi said? I asked as quickly and quietly as I could. She flicked her tail twice, but didn't look back at me while yelling back up at Gina. You're getting old, Aunt Gina. I don't think you have what it takes to kick my ass anymore. You're becoming an old, frail hag. Gina started to laugh. You're so cute thinking you can fight me, Fletch. You don't even hold a candle to your younger sister, and even she can't win in a fight against me. Now back down and let me take Shadow. I really don't want to hurt family if I can help it. I looked over at Aura. Did she hear me? Yeah, she did. Fletch is trying to buy us some time to get away. We should use it. Otherwise, we're away. She'll be able to do what she needs to. Aura said, turning her head to head down the tunnel. I turned to follow, and so did Eris when I heard Gina yell down at me. And where do you think you're going, Shadow? Don't think you can just hide in a hole in the ground. You're trapped down there, and as soon as I'm finished with my niece, I'm coming for you next. Fletch pulled something off a belt she was wearing. Go now, Shadow. Don't worry about me. Then she threw something into the air, yelling at her griffins. Kill whoever you can and scatter! I turned just in time as the flash bomb went off, filling the air with blinding light. I heard a shout of surprise from Gina, then the sound of guns going off as the griffins above started firing. I ran for it, following Aura and Eris deep into the bowels of the land. Is your sister going to be okay? I asked as we ran further into the darkness. Fletch is too stubborn to die. She won't let anyone bring her down until she can prove she's stronger than I am. She'll do what Mom said for now. So, make sure that we get you into the stable. If we're lucky, we won't run into any more griffins when we get inside, she replied. I was glad to hear that. Fletch really wasn't that bad. She just royally hated her sister. From what I could see, though, she knew how to take orders when she had to or was under contract. Either that, or I just caught her in a really good mood. It didn't take long for us to reach Windthrasher and Wingnut. Once we did, it was almost impossible to see in the dark tunnel. It was only because of Windthrasher's glowing yellow eyes that we found them. I reached into my saddlebags and pulled out the goggles and mask I'd gotten from Silver and put them on. A moment later, the tunnel and my friends came into focus. We should be close to the stable door by now. Windthrasher and I can lead the rest of you down to the door. We'll be fine. We've been trained about how to get in dark places like this, and our eyes see better in tunnels than a pony, Aura said, pausing for a moment. Well, maybe not as good as baddies, but we'll be fine. Wish I was that lucky. I can't see a thing, Wingnut complained. I lifted him with my magic and set him on Aura's back. There you go. You can ride on Aura till we get into the stable. But be ready for an attack. I'm sure the Overmare has something planned in case something like this happens. With that said, we all continued down the tunnel. I was right. It only took us 5 minutes or so to reach the large gear-shaped door with the number 28 on it. As soon as we were close, I used my magic to pull out my shotgun, then move over to the panel. I hooked my pip-buck into it and started the hacking software. The normal jumble of words and symbols came up, but for some reason it looked like I had 5 choices instead of the normal 4. Maybe something to do with what Nexus did when he unlocked more stuff. This just made it easier to guess the possible passwords would be next to the door. The sad thing was that even with the extra guess I could use, I figured out the password easily. It was powerful. Something the Overmare saw herself as, no doubt. I took the second to calm my nerves before pulling the lever to open the door. A moment later, I heard the large drill moving in place and the loud screech. The door started to pull open with a powerful suction of air, and it rolled to the side. Okay, from here on out, we have to do our best not to kill any pony. Right now, we look like invaders, and the security ponies might try to kill us. We have to convince them that we don't mean them any harm, I said. Do you really think they're going to fall for that, Shadow? Windthrasher asked. I shrugged. No idea. But not all the ponies in here are bad. They're just doing what they're told. They just need to understand that the Overmare is nuts and the orders she's telling them are preposterous. I was going to argue this right now with them. I walked over to the threshold of the stable entrance and went up to the inner panel of the door. First, I used the repaired lever to close the stable door again. Then hooked up the Mark II and made sure it would be unlocked, just in case Gigi was able to get some help. As soon as I finished, I took a moment to look around. Something felt off. The entryway should have had guards posted here. Even if they were just on the other side of the door that led to the atrium, Pony should have come running from the sound of the door opening, but no Pony came at all. No alarms went off, and no gunfire erupted. Table 28 was quiet, but nothing happened at all. I moved to the other side of the entryway, where the entrance to the Overmare's escape tunnel should be, but the wall was sealed with no means of getting into the tunnel that I could see. Fuck. I was hoping I could use that to sneak into her office and take care of the bitch quickly, but it looked like I was going to have to do this the hard way. It's late in the day. Maybe every pony's sleeping, Laura said, her spear pulled off her back. Either way, some pony should be guarding the door. Something's going on here, I said, looking around some more. Let's move on, and be ready for anything. We moved over to the door that should lead into the atrium. I pushed it open and found myself face to face with two Stable 28 guard ponies. As soon as they saw me, they both pulled out their batons. The mare on the right saying, "Halt! I don't know how you got into our stable, but if you're going to wish..." Then she stopped when she got a good look at me. "Shadow, is that you?" I lowered my shotgun a little and pulled the mask off, and goggles too. "Glimmer shot?" The stallion, who was with Glimmer, looked confused. "Shadow Star? Isn't she the one that the Overmare wanted those griffins to find?" Glimmer looked around the almost empty atrium. "Shadow, why'd you come back here? Do you know that the Overmare would do if she found that you got back into the stable?" The other stallion looked at Glimmer. "Glimmer, our orders are to bring her if she sold back up here." Aura chuckled as she lifted her energy spear. "And how do you plan on doing that?" He looked up at Aura, fear clearly written on his face. "There are more of us in here. We aren't scared of a couple griffins and some Wishland ponies." I ignored the idiot and asked Glimmer, "Why isn't there any guards on the entry?" "Overmare said we didn't need them now, since the griffins are out there protecting us from invaders." She looked over at the stallion. "Keep your muzzle shut. Shadow's a Stable 28 citizen, no matter what the Overmare says. You know as well as I do that she's lost it." "But we have to do whatever the Overmare says. That's the rules," he replied. "Fuck, I can't deal with your dumbass right now," Glimmer said, then smacked him in the face, knocking him out cold. "Can one of you tie him up or something, then toss him in the entryway? He's not a bad pony, just a newbie." I took a step back, a little surprised by what I just saw. "Glimmer, what the hell?" She looked back at me. "Listen, Shadow. I'm not one of the ponies who's going to follow the orders of the Overmare anymore. I've been waiting for you to show up. Auntie said you would." "So, Auntie's okay?" I asked. "For now. She's hiding in the lowest levels of the stable. The Overmare's ordered her to be taken into custody as soon as she's found." She looked around again and said, "We would suggest you all get out of here and down to level 10. "What about the ponies in here?" I asked. "Mandatory curfew. The only ponies allowed out of the rooms at this time are the R&D ponies and security. Right now, I'm supposed to be working around level 10 looking for Auntie. I was on my way down there when you came through the door. Let's get you and your friends out of sight before the next shift starts." She started to lead us towards the elevator. "Why are you doing this, Glimmer?" "Yeah, I find it hard to believe that you're gonna just help complete strangers without any hesitation," Aura asked. She pressed the button to bring us down. "You're all with Shadow. I trust her." "But why? The last time I saw you, I hurt you." She smiled a little. "Shadow, you did what you had to do. You protected yourself from that poor excuse of a security pony. I just got caught in the blast. After that night, I swore I'd make it up to you. I could have stopped him at any time, but I was scared. Also, I remember how hard of a time most of the ponies here gave you because of what you are. It wasn't right to treat you differently just because you're a unicorn, or because of where you came from." I smiled a little. "I wish other ponies in here felt the same way you did." The elevator door opened and we all stepped in. Then Glimmer said, "You'd be surprised how many ponies in here saw you differently after you escaped. Balefire and Milkshake started spreading stories about what the Overmare was going to do to you. At first, ponies said that they were just making up stories because they were your friends. But when Auntie started calling the Overmare out on things she was doing and ordering, ponies started to believe the stories after a while." "Wait, Auntie started calling out the Overmare?" I asked. "Yeah, she did. A week or so after you escaped, in fact. I'll let her tell you about it when we get to her." Eris glared over at Glimmer and asked, "How do we know you're not leading us into a trap?" Glimmer looked back at the blue and white Griffin. "Are all Wastelanders so untrusting?" "Yeah, it's how we stay alive," Wingnut said, crossing his forelegs. "Well, I'm not leading you into a trap. Honestly, level 10 would be the worst place to do it." "And how do we know that?" Aura asked. Glimmer rolled her eyes. "Surfacers, they don't know anything. Shadow, would you mind explaining?" I looked at my friends. I couldn't help but laugh a little at them and explain. "Level 10's the biggest level in Stable 28. It houses all of our extra rations, gems for emergencies, weapons locked away in case the stable is taken over, and all the generators that powers the stable. It's too large of an area to set up a trap, especially when most of the ponies, or griffins, you want to spring a trap on are flyers. If Glimmer wanted to trap us, it'd be better if she did so in a more confined environment, where she or the others could take control of the situation.
Our lowest level is a lot like that, too,
Thrasher agreed.
I used to go down there to practice flying when I was younger, and to hide from Dr. Cell when I was older.
The door opened, and Glimmer started leading us past all the storerooms and deeper into the bowels of the stable. I noticed that we were heading down towards where I'd found the Mark II. As we walked, I asked, "What happened to Milkshake?" On Auntie's transmissions, he said she was thrown the holding shells. Glimmer looked sad.
She was put into a cell for speaking up against the Overmare a few days ago. Now she's back working, but she's always under guard. They've been keeping her away from balefire mostly.
We passed by the sign telling ponies that the catacombs were off limits. Once we were past, I asked, "Why are they worried that Balefire and Milkshake were going to plan something?" Her eyes fell a little again.
Again, I'll let Auntie explain. We're almost there anyway.
We all walked past the place where I found the Mark II, further into the deepest part of the catacombs. There was a steel door. I looked at it curiously. How long has this been here?
I have no idea. It just showed up one day.
Auntie said your mother used some kind of spell to hide the door? So this is where Auntie's hiding? I asked. The door opened before Glimmer could say anything, and Auntie was standing there, a smile on her face and tears in her eyes.
"Shadow, sweetie, I've missed you so much."
I wanted to run up and hug her for the rest of my life, but didn't get a chance. Glimmer moved up to her and beckoned us into the room.
"Auntie, I ran into them when I was heading down here. I'm sure no pony saw us."
We moved into the room, and Auntie shut the door behind us, saying,
"Good. I was worried the Overmare would have seen her. Why don't you stay for a little bit and explain things to Shadow?" "I would, but I have to make ponies think I'm working. I can't risk the Overmare finding out I've been helping you. Shadow, it was wonderful to see you again,"
Glimmer said. Then she opened the door. Checked to see if anyone was out there, then went back the way we came. Auntie looked back at me and smiled.
"Shadow, I'm glad you got my message. Who are these friends you brought with?"
I didn't give her a chance to keep talking. I ran up to her and tackled the older mare, knocking her to the ground and hugged her as tight as I could. "Auntie, I missed you so much."
"Careful, Shadow, you're gonna suffocate the mare. We all came here to help,"
Aura said with a snicker. Auntie hugged me back, then once I let her go, she got back to her hooves.
"I've missed you too, sweetie. We've been so worried about you ever since you escaped."
I took a few steps back, then blushed a little. I remember my friends who were looking at me like I was nuts. "Oh, yeah. These are some of the friends I've made since I left. That's Wingnut, Windthrasher, Aura, and Eris. Eris is one of the Red Talons who's helped me right now." She nodded to each one.
"I wasn't expecting you to make it here, with so many following you. Were you able to get the message to Box Tape?"
"Yeah. He told me the code meant you were going to blow up the stable." She gave me a funny look.
"Why would I tell you to come here and help me out if I was going to blow up the stable?"
Aura interrupted.
"If that wasn't what you wanted him to tell us, then why would he lie?"
"I'm not sure. Maybe he just wanted you to hurry, but you should have been doing that anyway," she replied. "Auntie, what's going on here?" I asked. As I did, I looked around the room. It wasn't large, but there were large terminals lining the far wall. There was a cot in one corner and a desk with notes sprawled over it. She sighed. "When you escaped, I had to work hard to keep the Overmare from sending security ponies out to find you. I couldn't stop it from contracting the Red Talons, though. I thought for a couple days that you were going to die. The Red Talons were not griffins that you wanted to mess with. When the message came later that they dropped the contract and refused to work with our stable again because of her lies, the Overmare lost her mind. It seemed that she promised the Mark II to some pony. I was trying to figure out who it was, but then we had our falling out and things started to get to shit from there." "Yeah. Fighting the Red Talons was hard, but I ended up getting on good terms with them. Did you figure out anything about who the Overmare was trying to get the Mark II for?" I asked. She shook her head. "No. All I could figure out there was a transmission being sent to some pony in Los Alicorn. I'm not sure who she knows that lives out there, and if it's the only pony I know from there, then you're in bigger trouble than I first thought."
Windthresher gave her a funny look. If you're a stable pony, then how do you know ponies in Las Alicorn? I used to be one of the ponies that traded with Cartwheel back when the stable was still open. I've met a lot of ponies in my travels through that town that came from all over. The pony I know from out there is the pony I was trying to warn Boxtape about. His name is Wolfbane. More specifically, Elder Wolfsbane, the leader of the Las Alicorn Steel Rangers. Eris looked a little scared when she brought up his name. I've heard of him before. Doesn't he run one of the strongest branches of the Steel Rangers? He does, and he's a ruthless pony who does whatever he can to get what he wants. He'd wanted to take out the Steel Rangers from this area for a long time and expand the area he controls. He also wants to get into the stable. Why would he want to get into here? I asked. What does Stable 28 have that he could possibly want? Auntie moved over to one of the terminals and brought up a few blueprints. Shadow, what you don't know about Stable 28 is, it was designed to make a better weapon and armor for war. Stable Tech set it up to look like a stable that was designing new ways of surviving in the outside world, and they did do that. The real reason for this was for Earth ponies to use the gifts that they were given to mix magical gems and weaponry or armor. I'm sure you've seen Steel Ranger armor before. Well, think of something like that, only it can do more than just protect you from radiation and bullets. For the past 200 years, the stable's been finding new ways to make war. That's why Elder Wolfbane wants this stable. He thinks we've made weapons that no other pony has ever seen before. Wingnut was looking at the blueprints as he did. He said, Most of these seem like a good idea in theory, but I can't see how any of them would be able to work if they did. I'm not sure how long they would last. Well, aren't you a smart colt? Auntie said proudly. You're right. They tried to make all kinds of new weaponry, but we kept on failing over and over again. Finally, we just started to concentrate on protection through armor and other things. When Grim came to our stable, the last Overmare wanted to try and start up the program again, but it never worked since Grim's talents didn't revolve around fighting. How would Wolfbane know any of this? I asked. He got his hooves on some old files when he was still out visiting the Steel Rangers in Philadelphia. They live in the Stable Tech headquarters, and it has most of the information on all the stables. What I don't understand is how you know so much about all this, I said. Oh, that's easy, Shadow. Your mother told me everything about what this was when we became friends. She entrusted me with a lot of information so that I could help you when you were ready. Something wasn't adding up, but I still couldn't put it together yet, so I asked, If Mom told you so much, do you know where her friend is here in the stable? Auntie's eyes widened a little as she said, What friend? I was Grim's only friend in here. Her name's Vervain, or at least it used to be. As I spoke, I saw something on Auntie's face. It was subtle, but when I said that name, her left eye twitched a little. I knew that eye twitch. It meant that Auntie was about to tell me a lie. She laughed and tried to throw it off like it was nothing. Shadow, sweetie, I've never heard of any pony that goes by that name before. The more she spoke, the more I was finding it hard to believe her. Also, my head was starting to throb again. Just like it did the last time, I started to remember something from my past. Before I could ask Auntie, Mom just finished using her healing magic on me again. I was feeling a lot better after my excitement at finally finding a filly my own age who wanted to be my friend. I was riding on Mom's back as we left Cartwheel. I was hoping we'd be able to come back after Mom finished with her mission for the Elder to heal me. I can't wait to tell Auntie Vervain about my new friend, I said excitedly. Mom giggled. I'm sure you can't wait to hear about that, my little star. But can you please try and calm down? I can't use that spell on you all the time, you know. I know, but I'm just so excited. Fine, but try to at least stay still. I don't want you falling off me, Mom said as we reached the other side of the cliffs. There was a pony standing there in dark gray power armor. There you are, Vervain, Mom said, moving closer to the power-armored pony, setting me down on the ground. It took you longer than it should have. It would have gotten the information if you needed it, Vervain said, looking down at me. Are you feeling well, sweetie? I beamed up at her. Auntie Vervain, I made a friend today. Her name is Silver Snip. Vervain knelt down in her power armor. Did you really? Is this a real friend or another imaginary friend that I can't see like before? That trick won't work twice. I frowned up at her. I'm not a little filly anymore. This one's real. Just ask Mom.
She laughed, then looked back at Mom. Was this new friend one of Morning's reason that you took so long, Grim? No, the filly's mother was. You were right about the tailor. She's a real piece of work. Her daughter was nice enough. She kept Morningstar company while we talked. That's the new friend she was talking about, Mom replied.
She wanted to tell me some of her stories, like I made up. At first, I thought she was just trying to be nice, but she wanted to hear some of them,
I said. Well, I'm glad to hear that you made a nice friend, sweetie, Vervain said before turning back towards Mom. Did Silver Cloak have what we needed? Mom nodded. Yes, it cost me a lot more than it should have, though. That mare would have taken every cap I had if she could. At least you got the map. Are you sure it's the real thing? Vervain asked. Yes, it matches up the information I was able to find in the memory orb. How it ended up in the home of a small-town tailor, I have no idea, but it is the one. So, where is it? Mom pointed south towards a tall white spire that went into the clouds. That MASCB tower. There's a hidden chamber under it that should lead us to it. And you're sure we should use that to heal Morning? Mom smiled. Of course I do. What will you do after her? She's better. You mean about Wolfsbane? Vervain sighed inside of her power armor. You know he's dangerous, and if he gets his hooves on that, he'll take over the rest of the branches. I know. That's why I'm not planning on making sure to shut down the project after I fix Morningstar. You know well that he will come after you once he finds out you've betrayed him, Vervain said. Mom smiled. I know that, but he won't be able to get me after I'm done. How do you plan on hiding from a pony like him? Morningstar and I will be joining you in Stable 28 once this is all over. Elder Applejam ordered it. He said we've still had problems getting the stable ponies to trust you, so I'm going in there to help you with that. I smiled.
Yeah, Mom's gonna change their memories.
Mom gave me a stern look. That information is private, sweetie. Remember, loose lips sink ships. Vervain interrupted. How do you plan on modifying that memories? I can do it. It'll just take some time, but I know I can. The only thing I'll have to worry about is getting in. I'm hoping that you can help me with that. Maybe, but it will depend upon the mood the Overmare is in. I'll try and think of something once I've dealt with her. Then the rest of the ponies shouldn't be a problem, she said. I agree. For right now, though, let's head out to the tower. We've waited years to find this, and I don't want to wait any more. You'll have to leave your power armor behind, though, Mom said.
Why would she have to do that?
She asked. Because the security systems are inside the lab, we'll see the weaponry that you have as a threat. You'll have to go in with me without it. Vervain moved over to a small cutout on the cliffs just off the road. Fine by me, but you'll have to do something here to keep another pony from stealing it. I'll cast a protection spell on it. You can get it when we're finished, Mom said, following her, carrying me in her magic. Fine by me, Vervain said. There was a loud hiss and the power armor opened and Vervain stepped out. She was a tall mare with a yellow coat, dark purple eyes, and a violet mane, with a cutie mark of a purple flower. Not that I'd mind getting out of that every now and then. It does get stuffy in there.
Auntie Vervain, can I ride on your back?
No problem, sweetie. But you have to promise Auntie that you'll be a good filly and stay quiet and rest up for the rest of the travel, okay?
I will, Auntie Vervain,
I replied happily. Mom lifted me onto Vervain's back and then said, I'll never understand how you can get her to listen to you that well. Vervain laughed as the two mares started to head towards the tower. It's all in the way that you act around them, my friend. I yawned and closed my eyes as the two of them walked on, happy to be with a small family. I came to with Auntie shaking me. Shadow, are you okay? She tends to pass out like that from time to time, Aura said. She never used to do that before she left the stable, Auntie said. No, she wasn't Auntie. She was Paladin Vervain. Of course, she was. Who else would Mom trust her daughter to, or her secrets to, only but a friend she had in the Steel Rangers? How could I have missed it? I pushed myself back to a sitting position, then pushed Auntie's hoof away. I'm fine. And why did you lie to me? She looked worried. What do you mean? I got on all her hooves and yelled, This whole time you've been a Steel Ranger. You're Paladin Vervain. To my shock, she didn't get mad at me for yelling at her. She smiled. Finally, you remembered. Don't change the subject. Wait, what? I said, confused. She laughed. Shadow, your mother worked very hard to make sure who I was stayed secret, even to you. After she took your memories away, you didn't know who I was. So we both decided it was best for you that everyone thought that I was a stable pony, just like everyone else here did. And still do. Wait a minute. You mean the mare that we need to find in here was the same pony who raised you? Aura asked. Looks like it, I replied, glaring at Vervain. Auntie, whatever. Yes, I remembered, at least a little bit. I remembered the day I told you about making friends with Silver Snip. Her smile fell, and Vervain said, The same day your life changed forever. So, do you know everything about Shadow? Like, where she came from and who she really is? Windthrasher sighed. Vervain sighed. When I met Grimm, she was just a unicorn who'd been just saved by one of our paladins. His name was Crackerjack. At the time, I'd just switched back from being a scribe to a knight. The Elder liked Grimm right away and had me show her around the bunker, and he wanted me to try to get her to stay and join with us. She did, and over time the two of us became friends. Later, she told me about where she came from and what she was really doing in the wasteland. She wanted my help. She said she needed another pony to help her with her work, but I really think that she was just lonely. So she told you that we were from the Enclave? I asked. Vervain nodded. She did, and she told me that she was being hunted because she left with you, the daughter of a high-ranking soldier from Nimbus. My father. She wouldn't even tell me who he was. All she told me was that he died when I was very young. Is that true? Shadow, all I know was what she told me, the same thing. She said your father was hunting her, but he was badly hurt when he got into a fight with the Steel Rangers. Our branch of the Steel Rangers, in fact. Elder Appleslice, Jam was the only other pony your mom trusted enough. And when he found out your father was coming to help her, he sent out a team to take care of him. From what I know, he never meant your father any harm, just wanted to ward him away. But he fought and died. I looked down at my hooves. I should have known that was the case. Mom told me many lies, and the same for Auntie. I was hoping for another. I looked back at her and asked, Then why is this other Pegasus Nightshade looking for me? You know about Nightshade? She asked, looking more confused than I felt. How did you hear about him? A memory orb that Mom left for me. Now spill it. Who is he, and why did he want me? Your mother said that he was your father's best friend. When he died, Nightshade swore to get you back from Grimm and kill her for taking away the one thing in this world his friend cared about. Why would he want to do that? We both knew Mom was just trying to save me, I said. As you should know by now, friends are hard to come by in the wasteland. The same thing goes for the Enclave. Pegasi are very loyal to their friends, and finishing something for a friend who's died isn't unheard of, Auntie said. I looked back at my own friends and smiled a little. Yeah, I can see that. Wish I knew more about all this. Wonder if I could get into contact with Nightshade. If any pony knows the truth, it has to be him. If Nightshade was the pony who was looking for you, maybe he was the one who called off the sins back at Halo 1, Windthrasher said. We can worry about that when we get out of here, though. I looked over at Auntie. What's going on here, and why did you need me to come here? As I said, the Overmare has lost her mind. Normally, I could have taken care of her myself. The problem is she proclaimed that I was getting too old to handle my job and said I was to be retired. You know what that means in this stable. She sent security to get me, but I was able to escape and make it down here. It was not long after that she started letting those griffins in. I don't know what she's up to, but she used the griffins to kill 10 ponies already. I can leave this area to go after her. I need you to come here and unlock the stables so we can evacuate it before the pony she is working with gets here. You know more than you're saying, Vervain, Aura accused. Yeah, Auntie, what aren't you telling us? She stomped a hoof.
If she's working with the pony I think she is, then he'll kill every pony in here and take what he wants. Who's this pony you keep referring to, Auntie? She sighed. I believe it's Elder Roofsbane, and that's why I wanted Box Tape to know. He'll go to Cartwheel first. Use the town as a base until he's ready to come to the stable. We have to get the ponies out of here before he does and kills the Overmare too. I remember Mom talking to Elder Roofsbane in my memories. I thought he was afraid of him. He must be frightening. Fine. The good thing is that I already unsealed the sable, and made it so no pony can seal it again. The problem is there are a lot of griffins just outside the stable. Aura grinned.
Well then, how about we go kill ourselves an Overmare? From what I've heard, she sounds like a psycho, as anyone else in the wasteland is that needs culling.
Oh, I've been waiting to hear that for years. First of all, we need to get to her room. She has most of the security team on her side and a few of the griffins. Just because you didn't run into them coming here doesn't mean that they all left, Auntie said. Before I could say anything else, a loud alarm started to go off. I looked around vigorously. The fuck is that? Auntie's face went blank as she said, Oh no, we have to run now. What's going on? I asked, but I got my answer. The door exploded, throwing the steel door into the terminals behind us. Standing in the doorway was Gina. She was wearing what looked like power armor. I didn't even know they made power armor for griffins. There were at least 10 griffins behind her, all with energy rifles aimed at us. Standing next to her was the Overmare herself, a maniacal grin planted on that smug face of hers. Gina laughed an evil laugh.
I told you, if I just let her come into the stable, she'd lead us right to the mare you were looking for, Overmare. Ah, Gina, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you working with this nutcase? And what happened to Fletch?
Aura asked angrily.
Shh, alright. Don't speak unless you're spoken to,
Gina replied. Aura pulled out her energy spear.
I'm not gonna let you hurt my friends. And how do you plan on stopping me, Aura? You're nothing compared to me,
Gina said, and the way she looked back at the Overmare.
Well, I delivered the mare you wanted, and as a bonus, I got you the courier. So, what do you want me to do?
The Overmare grinned at me.
Shadow, it's been too long.
Thank you for bringing me the Mark II. You're insane if you think I'm going to just give it to you, I said, pulling the plasma rifle and my shotgun out. Oh, I don't plan on you giving me anything. You see, thanks to my new friends, I've learned everything I need to about that pip-buck. She looked back at Gina. Kill Shadowstar and take the rest into custody. Gina's smile grew wider.
No problem.
She lifted the large rifle and pointed it right at me. We really were in a bind now. 10 griffins, the Overmare, and who knows how many security ponies she had roaming around the upper floors. There was only one way out of this. Overmare, are you sure you know everything about the pip-buck? She laughed. Of course I do. Now keep quiet and die like a good little filly. Did you know that if you kill me, this pip-buck will wipe away all the data it's holding on its memory drive? That means everything you want would be lost, Overmare. Do you think your partner would be happy if everything was lost because you killed me without thinking? The Overmare's eyes went wide and she put up a hoof. Hold up, Gina. Shadowstar, tell me what you mean. The Mark II is different from a normal pip-buck. This one is set up with a protection that will wipe away all the data on it. A steel ranger named Brevane set it up. She's the only one who can undo it, I replied. The look on her face was perfect. She stomped a hoof. We need to make sure this is true. But right now, take them all into custody. Make sure you keep Shadow away from her friends. Gina looked down at the Overmare.
Are you sure? From what I've seen, she has a knack of getting out of things like this.
I said take them into custody, the Overmare shouted before turning to walk away. I'm going to contact our friend and see if he knows anything about this. Aura looked ready to jump at her aunt.
You're not taking us anywhere.
I put a hoof over to Aura and briefly glanced at the Overmare as she walked away. No, Aura. Don't. We'll do what they say for now. Aura kept on glaring at Gina.
If you hurt my sister, I'll burn you alive. Gina's grin never fell. Ah, don't worry. Fletch is alive. My friends are keeping an eye on her and the rest of her wing just outside the stable. She'll make a good bargaining chip if Gigi shows up. Now all of you drop everything you're holding and come with us.
I nodded to all my friends. Then I dropped my weapons. Pulled off my saddlebags along with my barding. All of us followed the griffins as they started leading us out of the bowels of level 10. As we walked, Auntie moved closer to me and said, I sure hope you have a plan to get out of this. I just kept my face blank as I answered, You'll see. This is all going exactly as I planned. Footnote, level up. New perk added. Espionage, expert rank 1. You've used your skills to their fullest to lead others into your old home most undetected. Sneak is increased